because I think it goes into the web of the security posture that we have today, where those of us that want good, solid encryption are also fighting against the need to defend, where this is what the industry calls the Dr. Paul Vixie problem, where it's my network, my rules, and
Mhm.
therefore I need visibility at the edge. And all of us are wrestling with that and have been for some time in doing the best we can with those different dynamics, right? Because as a dad or as a business owner, I have certain responsibilities to protect my network, and hence we are in the defensive world. But when it floats across the internet in the form of a packet, then I don't want the transit provider to have any insight into it other than shuffling the packet from left to right and right to left, right? And so that constant struggle ends up getting very muddied in our experience when either the motives aren't pure or there are aspects of the dynamic that where something is not understood by decision makers. And so the amount of times decisions are made, and we see this in politics all the time, that seem very uninformed, is still happening today. And there seems to be this constant arbitrage of information that the good guys can make use for good and the bad guys can make use for bad. And I'm not sure where we'll end up, or if this is
No,
just, will
no,
just be the space that we'll forever have to defend carefully.
I think the one of the core problems that we're facing of this is actor, like identification of the actor.
Yes.
Meaning, if traffic emanates from my handheld device or my laptop, who is the actor that is generating that traffic and what is its intent? If you could have full assurance that the actor in all cases was the person, like the human being, or the code that you had control over, then the security becomes a lot easier. It becomes a policy question. You can tell people not to do certain things. And that becomes a question between humans and humans, or humans and code that you run. The problem is that very often the code running on the laptop or the handheld device or whatever it is, the element in your network, you don't actually know who is the
Right.
operator of that code. You don't know its intentions. You actually have to be much more rigid in your security posture because you don't understand what the intention is and from what person or an organization is generating that traffic. This question comes up a lot, right? Because Quad
Mhm.
9 is used in some schools. We don't have yet, although I expect we will have it in the future. We don't have a school safe where we block sites that are inappropriate. What does inappropriate mean anyway? The question of who is it that's generating the traffic becomes the question, and who's actually
Yes.
got control. Those are really difficult ones to answer. Does the network administrator have the right to control content, or is it the end user? In my opinion, it should always be the case, even though you as a defender might not like this, but it should always be the case that the end user, if they're clever enough, should be able to get to the content that they want if they so intend. But they should be blocked. They should understand that they are being blocked. There should be resistance. They should actually have to knowingly circumvent the resistance to get to the content that is forbidden by the local operator. But if you have a perfectly secure network that doesn't allow some types of content, as a parent, that might be okay. As a country, that's probably not okay.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
so, and then, okay, well, the same technology can be used at the country level as can be used at the parent level. It becomes very challenging. I'm a privacy absolutist, meaning I think that people have absolutely the right to not be observed. I'm not an access absolutist. I guess that's not true. I think that it is okay to block people from doing certain things if the laws in your country require that. If, as a parent, you don't want your children seeing certain things, you should be able to block them. Should you be able
Right.
to absolutely block them? I'm not quite as convinced on that. I think that if they're smart enough and if they have enough ambition, that they should be able to get around it somehow, and they will. Right? There's steganography. There's tunneling. There's all kinds of different ways that a person, if they want to get access to data, can get it. But I absolutely believe they should not be able to be observed in what they're doing, because that is actually a much more critical problem, I think, than the access to the data in the first place. Is once you have access to the data, someone seeing what you're doing, there's a much deeper implication to that.
Right.
But
Right.
anyway, that's another philosophical discussion we can have, but that's a longer thread. Quad 9 tries to work not against network operator. As an example, malware, right? There are a lot of people who essentially block port 53 and only allow access to Quad 9's IP addresses. We also support encryption, right? We support 853 and
Right.
443, so DOE and DOT. We don't have a bunch of different IP addresses that we offer that on because we recognize that a network operator is going to try to block that. In fact, you'll find Quad 9 now in a bunch of different block lists because we are an open recursive resolver.